Hello and welcome. I'm Deanette Kabunda, and joining me today for a very special Zoom interview is Shelly Sood. She is a mother of three, an entrepreneur who launched her career in healthcare at Geostar, and she's the author of Untethered. It's about her personal journey after saving her husband's life. He had been suffering unknowingly from bipolar disorder for over 2 decades. She's currently working with Hollywood producers and screenwriters to bring her story to life on the big screen. Thank you so much for being with us, Shelly.
Thank you for having me.
So, Shelly, what are some tips you have to support a loved one who's suffering from a severe mental illness, such as bipolar disorder?
There are 4 tips. The first one is empower, communicate, separate, and champion. When I say empower, I mean educate yourself about this illness, because knowledge is power. And once you have the knowledge, you have more empathy towards another human being who has suffered from this illness. The second thing is communicate. Get permission to speak to his or her therapist, his or her doctors, because that communication is vital. When you have a loved one who's suffering from a cardiac problem, are you going to talk to their cardiologist? Probably. So treat mental illness the same way. The third thing is separate the disease from the individual. And this is the most important thing and the hardest thing to do. When somebody is manic, they can tend to be potentially abusive towards you, say things they don't mean, and understand that that loved one is underneath that mass of mania or the mass of depression. Because the way I looked at it is I was a victim of his disorder, not his abuse. The last thing is to champion your loved one. Support your loved one in their healing journey through their, wellness sessions, attend their therapy sessions, and show that unconditional love to another human being, because that is priceless. And if you have that patience and empathy, they're going to remember that when they get better.
Such great advice. And I like how you pull out those nuances that we should be looking out for. What are some other signs of bipolar disorder that we should be on the lookout for?
So bipolar disorder is a very tricky illness because patients tend to seesaw between depression and mania. And a lot of the times patients come to their doctors when they're depressed. And when you say signs of depressions, it's more like listless behavior. They could be sleeping all the time. They're uninterested in what they're doing. They may not be able to work. They're frozen, incapacitated. So those kinds of things can go on from days, weeks, or months, depending on the type of bipolar disorder they have. And then the other side of it is mania, when they're elated and, they're talking nonstop, fast talking. They're not sleeping. They have bouts of creativity. They're doing unusual things. Like my husband wanted to move to London. He's making major life decisions at the spur of a moment. So these kinds of things really make a difference to watch, like what is going on with your loved one, not just the depressive symptoms, but the manic symptoms as well.
Wow. So in the midst of dealing with all of this with your husband, you launched a company, you wrote a memoir that's being developed into a film. You're a mom of 3, a wife. How do you do it all? And what tips do you have for the rest of us?
The first thing is lose the guilt. As mothers today, we find ourselves to be so guilty, and there's no reason for that. We're judging ourselves. Oh, am I part of the PTA? Are my kids doing 5 or 10 sports? This is not a reflection of who we are as mothers or who we are as human beings. We have to start respecting ourselves, and we put these constraints on ourselves for no reason. The second thing is learn to say no. Except you cannot do everything. And as an entrepreneur, I've learned the importance of outsourcing mundane tasks that just don't bring me joy. It's a very important thing. And if you can afford to outsource at home, some of the home duties that you don't want to do either, I think that's really important, because you should be doing things that you enjoy. The third thing is be proactive instead of reactive. So when I say that, I say stop pleasing others and start pleasing yourself. Because when you are proactive, you have much more joy and creativity comes out. And you're able to actually self-discovery in terms of what, your goals are in this world and what you want to do for your life. The next thing is self-love. It's very important to have that downtime and to be able to take the time to either, do something you enjoy alone, absolutely alone, no children, No bosses, no coworkers, nobody around you. It could be meditation, it could be taking a walk, a hobby, it doesn't matter what it is, just something you own. And the last thing is live by your own rules.
Oh, such great advice. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. To learn more about Shelly, her book Untethered, as well as all of her other projects, please visit her website at shellysood.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.